Thank you, sir. First of all, on behalf of South Asian Institute for Advanced Research and Development, I heartily welcome you, first of all, on a third nature podcast. And the podcast and the organizations, as you know, that we are actually working as a global think tank based organization, supporting in case of the policy advocacy research and in case of the capacity building. These are the main three arenas. We are connected with the several national and international organizations connected with the 18 international countries. So we are looking forward to support that initiative, and particularly from the lens of climate resilience as well as the sustainability. So in that perspective, as you are your vast experience, and we are very much honored that. And first of all, congratulations very much that you got the highest honor, that is the Padma Shri, and and secondly, you have served our country through your expertise, through your knowledge since long back. So in different domain, in different departments. So it's really a truly we are honored for that. And today, the nature podcast, the focusing of our nature podcast is it's a nature related the climate resilience issues, and you are also associated with the several initiatives of government of India, particularly in the climate resilience sector. So first, I would like to request you to, if you please highlight some your journey from as in bureaucrats and Padma Shri as well as the nature conservation climate resilience part expertise. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and I'm really very happy to be part of this your journey. And of course, I started working on Coast when I joined Space Application Center, which was a very formative time, and we were trying to build newer applications of the satellite data. And I found that the satellite data could be extremely useful for studying various coastal aspects like the habitats of mangroves or a seagrass or a corals or processes, erosion, transportation, sediment transportation, deposition, and some part of the water quality, as well as how the different hazards, maybe cyclone or a tsunami or a sea level, can affect. And later on, of course, the changes in the climate like sea level rise and all those. So the and this led to very large database of the coast. Actually, first time we had a huge database of the coastal features for the entire Indian coast, and more or less in the same condition. I mean, that was the first. And when the coastal regulation zone notification came in 1992, actually they were not having any database, and they issued the notification. And they had a difficulty in the Supreme Court said that how you can issue the notification without having the information about the coast. So fortunately, I had realized that this would be required. And we did have about 1,000 maps of entire Indian coast on 1:25,000 scale, which was submitted to Supreme Court that we do have a database. And that started, of course, later on, it was realized that there are certain issues, so it was modified. But end of this, today, if you see, that's the only case where the government has notified that the coastal zone management maps has to be prepared using satellite data alone. When it was started, there were different methods were available, and which led to a lot of confusion. But now India is one of the few countries where we have complete coastal zone management plan available for the entire country. We have uniform high tide line all across all the states. So this became a major, uh, information to regulate various activities on the coast. And from coast, I shifted to ocean color because ISRO was to launch ocean color satellite. Now, ocean color, I mean, basically you must have seen different colors, maybe brown or a reddish or a greenish or a bluish. Uh, so we use those colors to find out what is the composition of the water. And this information is very critical because you can understand where the chlorophyll concentration is there, where the algal blooms is there, where sediments are more. So all these information is very critical for variety of those things. And this there were many uses, but the main use is we use this information for developing a fishery advisory, what we call as a potential fishing zone advisories for fishermen. And the principle is very simple in this, that the normally the animal try to go where the food is available. When we said that, okay, if you have a grassland, then you will have deer, and because of your deer, you will have tiger, that kind of thing. So the first is the availability of a food. So chlorophyll is the one. And then for the environment which is suitable, we use sea surface temperature as an indicator. So these two, where the environment is conducive and the food is available, fish is likely to migrate on those areas. And of course, then we also use the information about the current, wind, and many other things. And this advisory now, last 25 years, it has been going on. And the tremendous benefit to the fisherman. The first benefit is that search time is reduced. So because search time is reduced, the fuel is reduced, and the cost of fuel is almost 60%. And their catch also improves. So what we call as a catch per unit effort, the amount of effort which you put in, you get more catch. So it becomes economically also beneficial. Now, many people argued at that time that because of such things, you are encouraging overfishing because they go. But those who know the fishing, how it is being done, nobody can fish more than what it ship or boat can carry. It is not that if more fish is there, you can keep on harvest. The second thing which happened, which was very important, is that most of the time earlier it was a bottom trawling, which is environmentally not very friendly. But when they are now trying to do gill netting because they mainly concentrate on pelagic fishery. And so environmentally also, it became very friendly. And the most important thing, because of the search time is reduced and the fuel is reduced, the carbon dioxide emission, which we put into the atmosphere, also has reduced. So this has a tremendous benefit, environmental, economic, and the social, because the search time is reduced. So now the fishermen were able to spend more time with their family as well. And there are different estimates are available about the benefit, but one which I found very good is about 20,000 rupees extra earning per trip by the fisherman. And this was done by National Council of Applied Economic Research. So it is not something which you can argue against it. It is very premier institute. So this how it continued, and then of course I shifted to inquires in 2006 because when the earthquake came in Gujarat in 2001, I had done some work, mainly to uh, telling people that what is likely to happen and why you should not worry now, and those kind of things, and some of the information for relief rescue and all that, and which became very popular. Actually, every day I used to go to TV, which we are not very used to as a scientist. But this was very helpful. And so when tsunami came, I was asked that whether you can come and lead this center and build the tsunami warning system, because I had some experience about earthquake, some ocean, also geospatial, remote sensing, all those things are I know. So I thought this is a good chance. So I left ISRO and joined Ministry of Earth Science Center. And we built a tsunami warning system in 18 months. And very innovative. We didn't copy what USA and Japan was doing at that time, because they were relying mainly on the earthquake magnitude, and they were giving basin-wide warning. Wide in India, if we say Bay of Bengal will have a tsunami, you can't evacuate millions of people. You need more precise information. So we use some of the models which can give you very precise. So every 50 kilometer, we said that we should have a forecast for what travel time and when the tsunami will come, what should be the magnitude, all those things we planned. Now, the problem was that it used to take 90 minutes to run a model at that time, because in 2006 and 7, the computing power was not as which what we have today. So we thought, okay, we will generate scenarios for all the possible tsunamis which can come. So there were 50,000 scenarios, and that was the database was about 15 terabytes, which is quite significant in 2007. So we had to build a specific system to select the right one. And the other challenge was that it takes about 2.5 hours to reach to Tamil Nadu coast, about 30 minutes to uh, Andaman coast. So we set a target that we should be able to give a forecast in 10 minutes. And that was one. And the third was that it should reach to all people, not in India, but all the countries in the North Indian Ocean. So we took both the Makran coast and the Andaman Nicobar Indonesia coast and built this system, which is completely automated, because tsunami can occur anytime and the warning system has to run 24 by 7. So we made the complete autonomous, and it will give the first warning or advisory to all 22 countries within 6 to 8 minutes. And then once this is done, then the expert will review, and then give the further. So that was, I think, a very innovative system. And of course, that led me to Ministry of Earth Science. And of course, the rest, it continued my activity after my superannuation from Earth Science. I continued to work in National Institute of Advanced Studies, and mainly currently working on blue economy and some of the policy level research for the climate, and overall to how to achieve the sustainability. So we are trying to understand the different sustainable development goals. I think it's a little longer, but I think this is what we're doing for last almost now 35 years. Yeah.
No, no, sir. It's really commendable because I must also say that these podcasts will be set in our YouTube channel. And if you go through our YouTube channel, there are more than 200 dialogues we have stored here. Even if you count number of dialogues, then it will go almost 1,000. So on the
No,
different people. So we are looking forward to keep it as in one kind of archive, because as that upcoming generations would able to know, and it's completely open for everybody from now on. And it's
correct.
really very good to know that you have special interest on the ocean sector, and you have started that initiative during your tenure. So, so last 20 years, I mean, India has remarkably changed. I mean, last 15, 20 years remarkably changed in case of the science technology sector. We got the hotcake example in case of the Chandrayaan and all that, even ocean sector, defense sector. So, what kind of difference you have you have gone through within last 15 years? I mean, and what is the potentiality of India in case of the coastal technology or coastal development, coastal dominance, South-South cooperation, if we can say, because everybody's highlight enlightenment focus or searchlight or torchlight right now on India, and that is also very commendable. And we definitely, as an Indian, we feel proud when some person from US or UK, my friend, has mentioned that आपका इंडिया तो अभी छा रहा है पूरा. तो ये जो पॉइंट है, ये जो सेंटेंस है, feeling some goosebump to us. And I mean, what is your vision? I mean, in coming days, last 15 years and upcoming years, what is your point of view? India will go.
Yeah, I think India has taken some of the very important steps in last few years. One is they realize that the where the societal benefits of any science, not only earth science, but all the science, where the societal benefits are very important. And of course, I can talk always about the earth science. And when we talk about earth science, we realized that it is necessary to understand how the mass and energy transfer from one, say, atmosphere to biosphere or to geosphere or to ocean or to snow and ice. And all the weather, climate hazards are by and large governed by this transfer. Like if a monsoon, monsoon, the ocean hits up and then evaporation goes to atmosphere, then it gets cooled and the rain comes on land, and through river it comes back to the ocean. It's a very simple terms I'm telling you. So there are several such processes. Now the challenge is that whether we can have a sufficient observation system to observe these processes, which, and when I say observation, it is includes satellite, because without satellite there is nothing like earth science. You need the satellites and other ocean observing system, radars, the buoys, the automatic weather stations, all sorts of observations which we make, how to make use of this in the models and then provide the forecast. And you must have seen that the forecast has improved drastically in last 15 years. Earlier nobody used to believe IMD, but today IMD's prestige as far as cyclone or a short-term weather forecast, the monsoon forecast is pretty good. And it cannot be ever 100%. If you get about 85% accuracy, it is quite good enough.
Exactly.
And the most important thing which happened is, like, we were able to reduce the lives which we were losing in Orissa 99. We lost 10,000 people. But today, if you see, it may be 10, 12. Like last time in Gujarat, there was not a single casualty. So it also, it's not only the forecast, but because the forecast is good, the response mechanism has also improved, and people also have a faith in the forecast. So they believe when you are asked to evacuate. So all the three together, this is one thing which has happened because of our investment in science, modeling, observation system, and most important in building capacity. We have tremendously built our capacity, human capacity, and computing power. Today, India, I mean, in earth science, we have 22.5 petaflops computing capability, which is highest in India. Nobody has that much capacity to compute. So altogether, this happened. And at the same time, we also focused on the ocean, because we believe that after 2030, we will have to depend on ocean more and more, because the population is increasing. So you need food, you need energy, you need even water, and all that will come from the ocean. So that is why the government of India's mission, Deep Ocean Mission, is one which is a very long-term view to understand that what all we can get, and that is how the blue economy, that is ocean-dependent economy concept has come. And if you see Sustainable Development Goals also, which the SDG 14 very clearly says about the ocean. So these are the two important things. The third thing we realize that we don't think the earth as a different aspect. We consider as a one single unit, and all the system is interlinked. There are several global processes which we learned when the satellite started orbiting around the earth. In 90s, we realized that there are several interlinkages of the global processes like monsoon, droughts, cyclones, and many other things. And this, the understanding about the earth as a whole. So it started, we are calling as earth system science, the earth as a single system. Of course, now sometime we use earth science only, but earth science is not only geoscience. So we have to understand snow and ice. So we did a lot of work in Antarctica and Arctic especially, because we realized that there is a teleconnection between our monsoon and what happens in Arctic. So we have already have two stations in Arctic. We have two stations in Antarctica, and we are going to build third station in Antarctica, and also in Arctic we are going to have another two stations. So we are uh, expanding our observation on those areas, and the like these two poles, the Himalaya is also very important. Himalaya, whatever happens in Himalaya, also affects entire globe, both in the Pacific as well as on Middle East. I won't go into details, but so you have to understand Himalaya as well. And you all knows that the glaciers are retreating, and most of the observations which we have on glaciers is on the snout. Everybody is saying the glaciers is retreating, but that's not enough. That's a one observation which is very useful, but that's not enough. So what we have started is, we are in the Chandra Basin, we have put our observations right into entire basin. That means in the accumulation area and the ablation area, where snow accumulates and where snow melts. So entire observations, and we have now 10 years of data, and we have started modeling various aspects. So the snow and ice component also we have put it into this. And the last component which we think, like some of the hazards, like earthquake, if I give an example, uh, we are not able to predict it. Now, why we are not able to predict? We are able to predict cyclone very well. We are able to predict cyclone very well because we are able to observe the ocean through satellites continuously and see what kind of a change is happening. And then we know that how to model them. And so we can give a pretty good. Now, in earthquake, which occurs quite below the surface, we are not really able to observe. What we are getting, the information signal, the seismic waves which comes, it travels to different strata and comes to the surface, which is largely modified depending upon what kind of a strata it goes through. So that's not enough for us to give any predictions. So whether we can see what happens before, during, and after the earthquake, whether we can observe. And fortunately, we have a very good site in Koina. You probably may not have born at that time, but in 67, we had an earthquake in Koina, 6.7, and uh, about 200 people died and all. So there, the earthquakes are occurring at a very shallow depth, about 4 to 7 kilometer depth. So we thought we will drill a borehole up to that depth and observe what happens. There are a lot of physical chemical changes go before. So if we can understand that, then we would be able to understand how the nucleation takes place, what are the causes. And so we have drilled up to 3 kilometers in Koina now. And we are now observing. We have put seismometers in the, we are observing and trying to find the fault which is responsible for this earthquake. And we will go up to 7 kilometers in coming few years. So this is a large project, we have been working on for last 10 years. So the advantage which we have now is such a large term projects, which is like monsoon mission we did going on for last 15 years. The Koina, which is going for last 10 years. About ocean, we started in 15 and it's continuing. So government is willing to put money on a large projects, which is not 1 year or 2 year kind of thing, but large 15, 20 years where
15, 20 years. Yeah, yeah.
able to discover something new, which is
Right.
not known, not to the entire globe we are trying to do. So this is the main change.
This is
As
one of the visionary perspective they are thinking,
yes, yes,
definitely.
yes.
The large scale, I mean, long term thinking. It
Yeah.
has been imposed in them.
So what we want to address the issues which are not necessarily maybe local, regional, national, but also global. Today, India is recognized as a global center for monsoon research. We are recognized as one of the best center on operational oceanography is in India. The lot of work which we do on earthquake, this triggered earthquake, what we call is in India. So there are several examples of this kind. And now what is being focused is uh, that next few years we have to see that the changes in the climate, how it is going to affect our forecast. So you must have heard that recently Government of India has announced the Mission Mausam is essentially to give a better forecast for variety of sectors. Today, this forecast is used in 30 different sectors, including farmer, power, floods, and many other things. So even little improvement in the forecast can go a long way in improving our life. So we focus on now three, four major global issues, also national issues, the climate change, and of course with weather, climate change, all this comes together. And in this, we also understand the Antarctica, Greenland, because the ice melt will increase the sea level, and that sea level will affect the coastal zones very significantly. So the second is hazards related issues, the cyclone, tsunami, many hazards we are not able to do, like landslides, earthquakes. So that is the another. And the third is the critical minerals. Now this is very important. As we move from the fossil fuel to the renewable energy, you need large amount of lithium, copper, manganese, nickel, cobalt, rare earths. So it's a huge resource, and we don't have all this nickel and cobalt on land. So we have to look for them in sea. We have located several areas where we have a very high concentration of manganese, cobalt, nickel, and is almost 380 million tons, the estimated. But to mine them and to bring, you build a technology. So you have to also build a technology ourselves, because it should not happen that somebody else has the technology. Like in petroleum it happened, we didn't invest it in the technology, and we always depend on technology from outside. So here we are investing very heavily on building technology. The fourth issue, which is also very important, is ecosystems, coastal or a forest or all this. Now in this, the prime thing which is very critical is, let's say carbon dioxide is increasing. Now, most of the time, we think that temperature is increasing. Uh, we don't try to see if carbon dioxide increases, what happens. Because what happens is when the carbon dioxide increases, the stomatal conduction decreases about 20%, and the leaves become broader and more production happens. So this is a nature's way of trying to absorb more carbon dioxide. Okay. Now we are trying to understand this process. Not many people have been working. We don't have any breakthrough, but this is so we are trying to address the basic science. We try to understand various processes, model them, forecast them, and all this knowledge which we generate, how best it can be used for the benefits of the society. So this is the whole concept, and which will continue as the societal issues change. We will change, but the basic concept will remain same.
Yeah, but I mean the points, whatever the you have mentioned. So now India is particularly focusing not on long-term project, but it's the science for society. Ultimately, it's application to
Yes.
society and the boost of technologies and science and technology in particularly uh, for the really for the concept of the Vikshit Bharat. So most of the people, it's quote unquote, they don't understand what is Vikshit Bharat. So ultimately, I hope after launching this video in the social media, definitely people would understand what India is right now thinking about in case of that. And you are sir, talking about the Himalayan part. You are associated with the coastal area. So India is in a total coastal line, almost more than 7,500 kilometers coastal area we are covered. 9 states among the all states, 9 states
Mm.
and 4 union territories having the coastal areas, island part also. So don't you think that India can be a superpower in that case because we have the Himalayas, we have the largest coastal lines. So that it did not utilized earlier, and now India's whatever the initiatives government of India is focusing, particularly to utilize its natural resources in different domain. So I hope you also believe like me that India can be the global superpower with that initiation. So and
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
see I mean, today the superpower meaning is slightly different, but India will definitely grow because what we are trying to say, Viksit Bharat, in my view, is that we should be self-sufficient in our food requirement, we should be self-sufficient in our energy requirement, and we should be able to produce technology, innovation, and provide not to us alone, but to the globe as a whole. So this is one part is the economics, that the development, and then the of course our per capita income also need to grow. So that is one part. But the second part is also equally important, that when we are looking to develop economically, we also should worry about the security. Because if you see the Japan, which entirely focused on economics, and today you see they have a difficulty because China and there is a lot of issues. So they have started now
the
building their defense
geopolitical issues
capability
are
as well.
getting affected. Yeah.
Yes. If you other side, if you see Russia, they concentrated more on security and ignored the economics.
Hmm.
So they are also in trouble. So I think if you see this US or China, they focus both on the economic and security. I think,
Security.
yeah, it has to go hand in hand. And if you see India, their policy and the way they have been conducting, they are very clear about this, that we need to worry about both these things.
Hmm.
And that is why we said that nuclear capability has to be there. We faced the sanctions, and but we did it, and today we are better off because of that. Similarly, like energy, uh, we are now shifting from say fossil fuel based to renewable. it's very clear that you cannot alone depend on renewables. So you must have seen, we have been advocating for quite some time that small and modular nuclear reactors is one
Mm.
which is very important to maintain the base load. And the government of India has given about, I think, 1,000 crore for in this last budget. So they and the G20 also made a very specific para on small and modular nuclear reactors because they can be produced fast and can be captive power plant could be. So we have to, this is one example. So we have to find different energy resources. We are investing very heavily on hydrogen. Solar, of course, we have been doing, and wind and all that. But the newer energy, uh, also we are now very closely looking at how we can use coal. There is a what we call as a gasification of coal and whether you can use it, biofuel. So we are trying to address that when you transit from fossil fuel to this, it cannot be a single source, and we have to see this how optimally we can mix all the fuel, I mean all the energy sources, so that we can be self-sufficient in the energy.
I think from this is also you are talking about critical minerals. So now green energy is also one of ocean can be the sources. Water will be one of the sources. Food energy, food sorry, food in case of the food security issues. Even sir, as we are also working in the river sector, and we are you can say that through our initiative somehow river now in front of the world, we make that that river is just not a subject; it's a living entity, and now several countries are associated connected with us, and we are personally associated through our organization. So as a scientist, hope you also know that India has covered a largest river basins also after Africa, and India is also there. So whether river part can also be utilized, I think, and river in coming days can also be the future source of drinking water if we can focus each and every small, micro, macro channels, every channels. So in that perspective, what is your thought? Like ocean?
Yeah, yeah. I think the water is another area which we have been focusing. Now
Yeah.
there are two ways which we need to look at. If you look at the northern India, Indo-Gangetic Plain is mainly served by the Indus, Ganges, and Brahmaputra basins. Now, the Indus Basin is purely dependent on the snow melt. There is no monsoon in the most of the part of the Indus Basin. But we don't have a complete understanding about whether snowfall is increasing or decreasing. We have some observations on Bhutan and Arunachal where this about 3% decrease in the snowfall. But that doesn't matter because the Bhutan, Arunachal is more monsoon dependent than the snow. The Ganges also is mostly on monsoon dependent. But the Indus, where Satluj, Bias and all, where our most of the food comes, not only us, the Pakistan also. The Indus Basin is very critical for us. 25% of our food comes from that place, to very small area. So that is an area which we need to look for. As far as the drinking water is concerned, of course, the whatever water comes through rain is either flows on the river or percolates to the groundwater. Now, here we have to also understand the other aspect that the shallow groundwater table is very critical. If that goes down, what may happen is that during non-monsoon months, the shallow groundwater table provides water to the rivers. The because river during monsoon only, but whatever is stored in the shallow ground, it comes to the rivers. That is why you get when you say perennial river, it is the groundwater which comes to the shallow groundwater which comes to the river. And that also is very critical for the crops, forest, and everything.
everything.
For ecosystem and us, it is. So I personally believe that water, we should not treat groundwater and surface water separately as currently we have been doing. Water is a water,
Water is
wherever it is. Okay. So we have to integrate this information. So that is number one. Now, how you can do that? So what I have been proposing is that you, like we do census, like every 10 years you do census to understand what kind of people, whether population is increased, decreased, and whether in some area the density has increased, so what kind of facility to be provided. So I have been proposing water census. That means for each grid, let's say 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer grid, what is the requirement of water in that, uh, of people and the ecosystem, both, not only human requirement. Most of the time, we worry about the human requirement and plan everything. That's not a right kind of a planning. You need the requirement of ecosystem. When we say ecosystem, the rivers and all, it gets included, and the people, and how much water is available. Okay. So if you think that this is a water scarce, how much water is less and from where you can get. So we need this kind of a database about the water availability. Then we can think how we can provide water, say for drinking water, as you rightly mentioned, uh, which the first requirement drinking, then for irrigation. So like that for industry, for thermal power stations. So there are several requirements. So all that requirement also we need to integrate. This kind of a system which we need to actually address the issue of a water availability. So we need to worry about the storage, we need to worry about its use, we need to how it is moving from place A to place B. All that has to uh, integrated, and that kind of a water census could be extremely useful. That's
extremely
what I think so.
definitely. Even sir, as I mentioned about river, because you also know that river is connected, one of the connecting channels from Himalayas to coast, and it brings several, not only water but several things with us. Culture, from
Yes,
culture, tourism, economy, everything brings with the river. So that is good. Even we have organized in last year, because I, as a G20 steering committee member, I was there. I was organized the International Delta Summit, and there I'm connecting why Delta is also important, because land and coast is connected, and you were talking about security, biodiversity, everything. Delta parts is also very much important,
yes,
and
yes.
India have several rivers which have number of deltas also. So, so anyway, thank you for your very insightful point. So Amrita is waiting to ask something.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, please.
So, really, congratulations to you and all the teams you have worked with. It was really, I was really inspired to hear all the works you have been doing. Like me belonging to the generation where I have also heard that our professors or researchers, like they had to collab with foreign institutes, and there means and now there is a situation that India is capable of doing researches on their own. So it is really very inspiring for us, for the research community. So I have been going through some of your works, and it was really nice hearing all your works. So, you have done one of the papers on biological response of sea around Sri Lanka to summer monsoon. So, it just clicked me, like I really wanted to know more about this paper. So, what actually was the process, and how did you get inspired to do this?
No, this essentially we got the ocean color images, and we used to see that continuously a highly productive zone of the southern Sri Lanka going towards east for quite some time. And we collaborated with Professor Vinay Chandran from the Institute of Science, who had a lot of experience in oceanography, other physical part of the oceanography. So we try to understand which are the physical forces behind this, which allows this kind of a high biological production. And this high biological production also means the primary production, so there will be high tertiary production as well. So the fish catch and all also is quite high. So we study the different aspects, like what is the sea level height, so from altimeter, sea surface wind from scatterometer, sea surface temperature. So the physical aspects and how these physical aspects are related to biological aspects. So basically, to understand the physical and biological processes coupling and to find out how these translate into the high biological productivity. I mean, this is very in a simple terms I can explain. Uh, but similar thing happens on many other coasts, like on the south, when onset of southwest monsoon, we also get upwelling. From the bottom, the nutrients come up, and you have a high productive zones. So there are several reasons for all the high productive zones. So in principle, we need to understand the physics and biology and the chemistry together. What we are now arguing that only one aspect will not give you the solution to issue. Okay. You need a multidisciplinary knowledge. So, and this is not true in this case. Many, you must be seeing most of the papers now, hardly will find a single author. It would be always a team of 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, because the all different aspects are to be integrated. Because now we have that kind of a observations uh, at the same place, all different kinds of observations. So we are able to integrate all this. And basic message from all such kind of studies is that you need to put all the different aspects together, not study only one aspect. That's the basic idea.
Yes, surely. And also, like, we geographers also study, like, India has huge capability and opportunities for different researchers, like, on the basis of climate change, physiography. So, there is another question. Like, as a whole, you have been researching about the coasts of India. So, how can you jot down, like, in a few sentences about the eastern and the western coast of India? Like, if we study in the on the basis of disasters, and so how will can you what can you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, the eastern coast is mostly deltaic, Ganges, Maha, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri is mostly deltaic kind of thing. In the west, and it's a very old coast, so you see more or less straight line. The west coast is very young compared to the east coast, very young. So you get a different kinds of a coast. You have a concave beaches, you have hills right up to the coast in Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala. Also backwaters. That is again because of the tectonics. It is southern Kerala is subsided, so you have backwaters. Northern, you don't have any backwaters. Gujarat is slightly different. You have the two major rivers, Narmada, Tapti, coming from that, which is the mainly estuarine kind of thing. So when you have this kind of a differences in the coast, the issues which are for managing them also are quite different. Like if I give you example of a Sundarban, if you take now Sundarban name has came from Sundari, the heritaria, the mangrove. You must be all knowing pretty well. But now, last several years, what is happening is the heritaria concentration is going down because the freshwater supply is less and the sea level also is rising. So you are getting more Avicennia on the uh, Sundarbans, especially bordering Bay of Bengal and the creeks, than the Heret area. So this kind of changes will occur. Similar changes occurs also in the phytoplankton. We have seen now in northwest there are changes from diatom to cyanobacteria. Depending when the warming takes place, the many other things happens. I gave you earlier example of a stomatal conductance. Similarly, in ocean also, the warming is not simple warming. It changes the drastically different processes. Like when the sea level rise, earlier I remember people used to say, okay, 1 meter rise, so they will take 1 meter inundation and then draw a line that this is area, which is absolutely nonsense. When the sea level will rise, the whole hydrodynamic system changes, and you have a uh, different tidal regime. In a very simple words, if I can explain, in a given estuary, if the sea level rises, then you that much additional volume of water has to come and travel and come back because the tidal time will not change. So what it will do, it will broaden the mouth. So, so many estuarine areas, if you see in Gujarat, and are becoming broadened. So we just say erosion. It is erosion, but the process is broadening of the estuaries so that the amount of water can come and go at the same time. So this kind of changes are happening, and mostly people will worry that I have seen this change, but this change is because of what is very critical to understand. Unless you understand that, is very difficult. And since you are a geographer, I would like to add one more thing is you are basically very familiar with the map, right? But you know why
Yes.
map is so important. The map, any map which we prepare is very important because it gives you the relationship between the physical objects, maybe forest or agriculture or whatever, different, and people and
Yes.
the climate. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so so that is why geography, in a sense, it's very important, which connects the physical aspects with the people. So it's very important. Not many people appreciate geography nowadays, but I'm very happy that you are a geographer, and it's very important subject for everybody to appreciate.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And, and sir, I would like to share one recent data which we have from the records. Even we, as a geographer, I am also the faculty of geographer, so geography. So we have kind the application of the geospatial technology, and on that basis, we got a data that from in the 17th century, the total mangrove forest in Sundarban was 20,000 square kilometer, and at the time of 1800 and sorry 19th century, it becomes 17,000 square kilometer. Between 2000 to 2010, it becomes 9,400 square kilometer, and in 2020 the mangrove forest area was become 9,200 square kilometer, and now recent data is saying 2023 that it becomes only 9,100 square kilometer. So you are talking about the climate change and coastal along with the coastal parts. The for biodiversity area, which is the largest biodiversity area it covers, and the forest area. So I think this should be also a prime concern as you are also focusing on the ocean sector. So delta is one of the prime because in delta, within delta, everything is related, and it is one of the most complex ecosystem belongs, and 90% of the population of any region are belonging for the delta parts. So yeah, thank you. Just I'd like to share this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree. The delta is very important, and but what has happened, if you really see, is when we say delta, it is a depositional activity, and the delta is supposed to grow. And when it grows, the mangrove will come up. But in the hinterland where the water, saline water is not reaching, will gradually change over to the freshwater mangroves. So that is a standard process. The If you look at the Krishna or Godavari and all those, you will see very nice spit system, and the spits will continue to grow and will enclose a lagoon. Like if you see the Chilka lagoon, it is close by a spit. The Koleru is died. The Pulicat also like that. Kutikola is now happening. Now this spit growing, if you see in last few years, last couple of decades, is not progressing as much because the amount of sediments supposed to come is not coming. So instead of spits growing, spits are getting eroded. Okay. So that is the reason the changes which are occurring on the East Coast are quite different, though the erosion both the sides, but the implications are quite different. And I think we need to model this kind of thing and see that how it is going to change in coming years.
And nicely, you are really, sir, nicely quoted. So, as several verticals you have connected, and from the monsoon, from the water security, from the Indian perspective. Now we are almost in the came of into the coming to the verge of our conclusion. So, just have a quick discussion. I would like to know how you would like to see India in coming days. In case of the not only science technology but resource management, and according to your viewpoint completely, I'm not asking from any bureaucratic mindset. I just a general scientist. You please can highlight what is the perspective of India in coming days, where it can be reached, and the role of youth and the coming generations, how they could also be a part of that Vikshit Bharat.
Yeah, I think, as I said, the science and technology growing at a pretty good space. We are now uh, producing many more scientific papers, patents than what we were doing, say, 2 decades ago. So we are on a right path. What we need to do is now how the science and technology can be integrated with the social science and humanities. Somehow we have not paid sufficient attention to social science and humanities as we have paid attention to science and technology. And this aspect is very critical, uh, because what happens is, if you really want to take the fruits of science and technology to the society, these two aspects are very critical. And today, if you see uh, our contribution on the world in the field of humanities and social science is much less than what we are contributing to science and technology. Okay. So I think, in my view, we also need to focus on this, and this has been realized. And so the Anusandhan, the National Research Fund, which is now going to come up, the social science and humanities is also included into this verticals, 13 verticals where all this. So I think we are on a right path. We have a very clear vision about the different aspects of the society. We have a very clear vision about our security. We have a clear vision about what kind of economy we want. And the overall system, uh, there may be some ups and downs may be coming, but in the whole, I think we are maintaining our progress, and I'm sure that if we keep this momentum up, we would be definitely Vikshit Bharat by 2047. I have absolutely no doubt about it.
Thank you. And in conclusion, I just mentioned that we are very much fortunate. Our country is very much fortunate that we have such kind of dedicated scientists like you. And through your knowledge, through your wisdom, and through your tireless initiative, I think right now India is moving in a rightly direction, and there everybody is now getting an energy जिसको ऊर्जा बोलते हैं हिंदी में. तो एक ऊर्जा
हाँ,
आ गया सबके अंदर के हम भी कुछ करके दिखाएंगे. So definitely it's a definitely we can't deny the perspective of politicians, and if the political leaders, our leaders will be strong. I'm not saying political, but if the leaders will strong, everybody will feeling that I'm also stronger, and that is also very good. And in with this hope, and definitely sir, we will get your support in coming days in future. It will be very much, we will be very much honored that this everything whatever you have mentioned through this conversation, as I mentioned, it will be recorded, and hopefully like Amrita and Somi, they are young generations, it will be helpful for them to think in a new way. And with this, once again I thank on behalf of SAIARD. I'm really thankful. Hope in coming days we will have your guidance, your support in future also.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, team.
Thank you, sir. Today's session was really, really very insightful, and it was really I get got to know many new things about the different ocean colors, research regarding that, and the leaves increasing size for capturing CO2 and all. Like there are now like many